everyone. It's lovely to see you all. Thank you so much for joining on or at our mental health webinar. So for everyone, or for those of you who do not know me, my name is Claudia. I'm the clinic director and psychologist at Self Reflections in Wollongong. Thank you for joining me, as I mentioned, for our online webinar. To help the community feel connected, build awareness and education, and learn skills and strategies for a variety of mental health issues. As you know, or many of you know, we have a different topic every week, and as the weeks progress, we will review at the end of the month whether this is something we will continue. However, we do have some special guests already lined up for some of our future webinars, which include help with, physical health. So we've got a qualified personal trainer coming to speak with us. We will have someone from a financial advisory service that will be providing us some support in how to manage our finances during this time. We're also going to have a physio on board to help us manage, our body during this time as well as a variety of different skills and strategies to help promote general well-being. So as always, I have to remind everyone that our video content is, of course, intended for general public use and knowledge. The information shared here is evidence-based at the time of production, which is reliable and valid and evidence research supported. It is the responsibility of the viewer to assess whether the information provided is right for their needs, situation, and individual circumstances. We offer information that is general and broad, meaning that it is not intended to, nor should it replace a qualified mental health provider who is able to make judgments and decisions based on first-hand knowledge of the individual and their situation. So thank you for sticking with me while I say that. Today's topic is going to be on managing social media and mental health. As we know, with everything that's happening with physical distancing and isolation that is required of us, social media is an invaluable tool for keeping us in touch with friends, loved ones, and of course the wider world. We want to make sure that we are very much mindful of how it's making us feel. Today what we're going to be doing is looking at the positive and negative aspects or sides to social media, the impact on our mental health, and we want to make sure that if spending time on social media exacerbates or makes worse your stress, anxiety or uncertainty, it's definitely important for us to take steps to minimize that engagement. Make sure that we're always getting information from reputable sources and making sure that we don't forward or believe things that we might think aren't truthful or helpful in any way. So stick with me today. Again, thank you so much for joining me. What I'm going to be doing is reading off my notes, as I always do, to make sure that that the information that I will be providing is, of course, relevant, and making sure that I'm sticking to what's important. For those of you who will be joining us, like I mentioned, today we're going to be looking at the role of social media and how it plays on mental health, the positive and negative aspects of it, how can we use it in a helpful way, and of course learning how how we can modify certain aspects about our living to make sure that we're not relying on it too much. So without further ado, today, I want to start, in the role that it plays in our mental health. As we know, especially now more than ever, we are relying significantly on the use of social media. It helps us connect, it helps us stay up to date, it helps us share our experience with the wider world, our friends and our loved ones. And it can definitely play a significant impact on staying connected during this uncertain and isolating time. It can help ease anxiety and depression. It can boost self-worth and provide comfort and joy. It can prevent loneliness, as we know, and it can definitely, there's research to support that it can, to some level, add certain years to your life because it minimizes our stress levels. However, as we know, there is a flip side to everything. Everything in moderation is beneficial, but when we see that there is, a negative aspect to social media, what it can actually provide is a lack in social contact in person, and it can, of course, highlight some issues with our own self-worth and self-esteem, which we want to make sure that we nip in the bud before it gets too out of control. So we know that there are so many various platforms of social media that we want to use to connect with each other. This is, of course, one of them. However, we don't want it to completely replace in-person contact. So where you can, and with the regulations that are set in place at the time that you are watching this, is really important that you still connect physically to someone to ensure that there's still that connection there that is obviously not as easily accessible through the social media realms. So let's actually look at some positive aspects of social media. It means that we are definitely going to be able to communicate and stay up to date with a variety of different things happening around the world and in our connections with family and friends. We know for a fact that it's a great way to find new connections and friends in the community or in some of the, some of the, it's been a long day, I can't remember, some of the activities that are obviously being held in our community. It helps us, I guess, join or promote worthwhile causes and raise awareness in important issues. It helps us offer emotional support during tough times. My apologies. It is something that can be a creative outlet or some form of outlet for self-expression. And of course, it can be used for valuable information and learning, of course, with care. On the flip side, we know that social media can have its negative aspects about it. So let's, I guess, highlight some of those. We want to make sure that if we do experience these negative aspects of social media, just to kind of be mindful and please seek help or reach out if you're noticing that these negative aspects of it are kind of ruling your life. But we'll get to that in a moment. So what it might actually, promote or exacerbate a little bit is a sense of inadequacy about our life or our appearance. We know that there are so many images out there that promote, a brand, whether that be a person, a product, whatever it might be. It actually does highlight certain aspects about how people potentially live life, what they have, what they don't have, what experiences they might hold. And it's really easy for us to get into the spiral about feeling very inadequate to comparing ourselves to what's out there. We might feel envious, we might feel dissatisfied with our life that we're leading. So when we're kind of noticing that, it's really important for us to, again, reach out and speak to someone about it. But most importantly, highlight all the aspects about your life that are going really, really well. Create new experiences for yourself where you can. But most importantly, remind yourself that a lot of these photos that you do see out there are, my apologies, are very much falsified. They're airbrushed or they're photoshopped, they're staged. So again, just because you're noticing that someone is posting something that is amazing and out there and something that you're quite envious of, remind yourself that we are very selective and we choose what we want to put on social media. So being aware that not everything out there is a true depiction of people's lives. So that's one way that you can combat that. We also know that sometimes it brings on a sense of fear of missing out, or also known as FOMO. So it's very much a common thing for it to have, being correlated. This fear of missing out has been very much correlated with the acceptance and wide use of social media outlets, mainly because a lot of the time, if things were happening, we didn't know about it, we didn't get bombarded with images and posts about that thing happening. So our ability to actually have this fear of missing out wasn't even existent. But as we are very much able to access everyone's life and everything that's going going on, there is a sense and a fear of missing out of that. So it puts a lot of pressure on us to engage in things. It might impact self-esteem. It might trigger anxiety. It might even fuel even greater social media use. So as we know, when we are having a sense of fear of missing out, it's important to, again, refocus our attention on our own life and create certain activities or connections that we find meaningful and valuable for us, rather than compulsively feeling like we need to check in what other people are doing. But again, if you're finding that FOMO is a big problem for you, don't hesitate to reach out to any of your local, counselors or psychologists, and we're able to help out with that. So as we know, there is a little bit of evidence that suggests that social media does create more isolation. I guess it's a bit of a contrast now where we are encouraged to use social media to connect. But I guess that's the reason why social media was actually invented in the first place, is to help us connect, especially with people that don't live in our community. What has happened is our over reliance on it has actually created a lot of isolation, and not because we're forced to, given the current restrictions, but because we have chosen it to be more of a safer or less distressing or less anxiety provoking method to be able to connect with people. So it does exacerbate or heighten feelings of social anxiety or anxiety in general. So again, things like that, if you're noticing that there is a lot of isolation, not because we have to, but because it's naturally coming up because of anxiety or social anxiety, again, that's something that you can engage with treatment about and work through. That also says, relates to feelings of depression, especially because our reliance on likes, on people following us, on being connected is so heightened and high. We even unconsciously notice that there's a decrease in mood when we don't see likes or follows or comments on some of the things that we post. So there is a bit of a correlation there. And again, if you're noticing low mood or depressive kind of symptoms being present, it's really encouraged that you speak to someone about that and make sure that it doesn't spiral out of control into something more sinister for you. We know that, cyberbullying is something that is quite a bit of a negative aspect around social media, and we do have those keyboard warriors that often like to make negative comments or put someone down, and that's so hard when it comes to someone just wanting to be out there to connect. And we know that there's a high percentage of many young people experiencing bullying, but even as adults, you do have people who are jealous or mean or unkind that do comment negatively on a person's photos or what they share, and of course that is a significant negative impact of social media. I guess ways to challenge that or work around that is to be able to build a bit of a tougher skin in building your own confidence, building your own self-esteem, which again can be done through treatment, or being able to delete or block people who aren't actually being kind or caring on certain posts that you do make. So now that we've covered pros and cons, what's really driving our social media use? It's really important for us to kind of have an understanding of what's the driving force and why are we so reliant on it. I know obviously right now we're so much more reliant compared to many other times that we have had social media as a tool to be able to use. But what we want to make sure is we know in a way that social media platforms are actually designed to snare your attention and keep you online and have you repeatedly checking your screen for updates. So it's programmed in a way to keep us a little bit addicted, if that makes sense. It's a great tool. We know it's a reward. It releases chemicals in our brain. We feel more connected. We feel what's the word? Like we're sharing things where we're not missing out, where we're using it as a safety blanket or a coping strategy. So we want to make sure that our, use of social media doesn't turn into anything too sinister or negative, that we don't become a slave to our device, that it is something that you're able to distract from or stop or be able to make it, purposeful if you are using it for a business or a purposeful meaning, or a purposeful for a purpose. Yes, I can say that. um, so I guess we need to look out for some signs that social media is, of course, impacting our life, because that allows us to ensure that we're using it for the right reasons, rather than social media really taking control and spiraling us into a place that we don't want to be in. So, ways to know that it's impacting our life: we are actually spending more time on social media than real world friends. Of course, given the current situations, it is quite normal and natural that we are now connecting with social media more than we ever have before or previously. However, as we're noticing that the restrictions start to lift, it's really important for us to re-engage with those connections on more of a face-to-face way, to be able to feel real connection and really add value to our lives. Another way that it is impacting our mental health is that we're comparing ourselves unfavorably with others on social media. So again, this elicits low self-esteem and negative body image, and at times can lead to disordered patterns of eating. So if any of those are an issue, we really, really do encourage you to seek help as soon as you can. We know experiencing cyberbullying is something that occurs and can easily impact our mental health. It might lead to distractions at school or at work, or from our normal, daily lives that we try and run. We have no time for self-reflection. See what I did there? But no, it actually prevents us from having downtime, having time to process the day, process what has happened, process our emotions. Sometimes it is a bit of a tool to just switch off, and that's one thing we want to make sure that we're not participating in too frequently. It sometimes might make us engage in risky behaviors in order to gain likes, shares, or positive reactions on social media. So I know that some individuals do play dangerous pranks or post embarrassing material, and so forth and so on. So it's all potentially using our devices when it is quite dangerous or illegal too. So it's important for us to make sure that we're not participating in that way. It might also impact our sleep, so making sure that staying up at night and just scrolling through our device, if it's keeping us up at night and it's something that you're unable to let go of, or it is disrupting your sleep, we know long-term use of that can have serious mental health implications. So we do encourage people to be a little bit more mindful and make sure that they've got a bit of a barrier around that. And as we know, other, signs that social media is impacting your mental health is, of course, if you're noticing a worsening of symptoms, whether they are just showing up for the first time, or whether your symptoms that you've had for quite some time are starting to get worse and worse. So, what do we do about all of that? If, let's say, we are noticing more negative uses of social media, and we are noticing more, distressing signs that social media is impacting our life? Well, I guess priority number one is, of course, moderating our use of social media to improve. Priority number one is, of course, mental health. So reduce time online. You might be able to use an app to track how much time you spend on, on each app or social media program each day. It's maybe even turning off your phone at certain times of the day, just to allow you to separate from it. You can, of course, turn your phone on as soon as you need to. For example, if you're driving and you don't necessarily need to have your phone on, you can turn it off to make sure that any notifications or things don't pop up where you would want to check them, let's say, while you're at the lights, which, by the way, you shouldn't be doing. So maybe not bringing your device to bed with you. If you do use it as an alarm, maybe buying yourself an actual alarm clock, especially if social media gets in the way of you getting some adequate sleep. Leaving your device in another room or at the other side of the room really helps you to prevent that mindless scrolling when it is actually time to go to sleep. disabling some social media notifications. So I've actually done that a lot for some of my Facebook, my Messenger, my Instagram, just things that I know I don't necessarily need to be in 24/7. People that I care about and love and want in my life or can check up on me, really, if they really need me, they can text or they can call. So utilizing some of those boundaries that are so important to kind of teach people that you don't have to be accessible 24/7, and it's okay that you're not. You're allowed to have some downtime and some time away from the rest of the world. In a safe, healthy way, but knowing that at any point you can reshift those, put those notifications back on your phone. Limit checks. So what this looks like is if you're actually going onto the apps, making sure that you kind of allow yourself a bit of a limit. So time watch a little bit here. Make sure that when you are going on an app, that it allows, maybe set a timer or maybe watch the clock. So at least you're a bit more conscious in what you're doing rather than just mindlessly swiping or scrolling for hours on end, just with no purpose really at all. Other things that you can do is for periods of time, maybe just removing the social media apps from your phone. So it makes it just a little bit harder to go into the App Store or onto Google Play or whatever the downloading device has, to download the actual app to then have to use it. So it just provides a bit of a barrier for you to not focus so much on those apps that are creating a lot of problem for you. So step number 2 is changing your focus. So making sure that social media does not play a substitute for your real life. Focus on creating the life that you actually want to live. If there's things on social media that you see that you want to do, how can you then re-establish that in a capacity you can sustain in your own life? So rather than actually just being lonely and scrolling through the phone and looking at other people's life, how about contact someone and schedule a coffee date or a coffee meetup, whether it be through Zoom, now that we have to rely on social media a little bit more, or of course in person when the restrictions lift. It just allows us to just say, well, if social media is making me feel this way and I don't like feeling this way, well, what can I actually do instead that allows my life to be a little bit richer and fulfilled, and therefore me feel a little bit better about I guess life in general. What else? If social media, of course, is making you feel disappointed or inadequate, it is very, very likely that you are feeling some form of fear of missing out and wanting what you think you're lacking that obviously others potentially might have. So again, this might be related to certain aspects of self-doubt, of self-esteem or confidence. But again, what we can do here is refocus our attention to make sure that we're not focusing on other people's lives, but actually using that time wisely in creating a more meaningful life for ourselves. So step 3, of course, is spending more time with online friends. So rather than just aimlessly scrolling or scrolling or just pointlessly looking at things that aren't actually going to make you feel good. If you are going to be using social media, please use it to connect with people online, just like where I guess trying to encourage people to use social media at the moment. Building meaningful connections, it's really, really important, whether they are in virtual, I guess, connections or in real life, they still give you a sense of purpose and meaning. Of course, the main priority here is to shift that into real life scenarios, whether it be through activities or real life meetups. But again, at the moment, we can use social media for what it's worth. And if you are relying too much on apps, it can definitely be a nice way for you to refocus your attention on connecting socially with other people you do care about, or of course, meeting new people. it's important to, and step number 4 is express gratitude, making sure that you are taking time out for reflection, keeping a journal, and highlighting some of the things that you are really, really thankful for. This allows, I guess, a way for us to be able to stop relying on social media and really looking at some of the things in our life that we feel grateful for, and we are so happy or proud, or even a little bit happy and proud, that they are still very much part of our life now. So practicing gratitude just allows us to, focus on what we have, so we're not then bombarded by some of the things that we don't have. And if you're noticing that that list is quite small, again, going back to some of the other points I've mentioned about starting to create or reflect on what you would like your life to be like and working slowly towards that. It's important for us to practice mindfulness. So again, this kind of works well if there is a lot of FOMO, or fear of missing out, and comparing ourselves unfavorably to others. So when we are really, really highlighting and dwelling on other people's lives, it really creates a lot of frustration and disappointment in us. So it pulls us and prevents us from being present in our life. And we often find ourselves focused on a lot of what ifs and if onlys, and preventing, like I said, us matching what we genuinely want in our life and actually creating that and working towards that. So mindfulness allows us to stay in the present moment. It lessens the impact of fear of missing out. So we're not focused on the future. We're not focused on the past. We're actually just trying to make our present moment as enjoyable, as safe, and as connected as we possibly can. What else? Of course, if there's anything that I've spoken about that tends to be quite a significant issue for any one of us to kind of get a hold of, it's really important for us to please reach out and speak to someone about it. It's not easy to obviously be now forced to be on social media so much, especially when we're either not used to it or it was never encouraged to be on social media so much. Now that it's become pretty much our world during this time, it's very important for us to and I've lost my train of thought. It's very important for us to, again, use it for a purpose, use it for something that's meaningful, connect to the people that we love and care about, and make sure that anything that we're noticing is impacting our mental health that we can't naturally get a hold of or handle of, please reach out and speak to someone about that. So that's pretty much it for, tonight's well-being webinar. I keep forgetting, I don't know what to call them. Oh well. Like I said, we're going to be having a few guest speakers and presenters in our upcoming sessions, and what I'll be doing is actually from here on in explaining what those topics will be about, so you can choose which sessions you will be engaging in. Of course, all the videos that we have through these free webinars, they are saved and then uploaded to our YouTube channel. So if you have missed out on any, please don't hesitate to head over to our YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button, hit the share button, hit the like button, all that kind of jazz that helps us, share that information with the community. And any ideas or suggestions of future topics that you think we would that you would like to hear about, don't hesitate to get in contact, send us an email, or of course, hit us up on one of our social media, pages or things. All right, well, good evening. Thank you so much for staying with me tonight, and I hope everyone is as well as they can be given the current situation in the world. Look after yourselves, take care, and I will see you soon. Bye. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and share this video with your family and friends. And for more, don't forget to subscribe. Look after yourselves, take care, and see you soon.